It's time for the biggest book haul of the year so far. Hi everyone, my name's Chloe. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here today. Today's video is video number 4, I think it is, of BOOKMAS. So I am doing a video every day up until Christmas Day. So that is 25 videos in a row. And this one is going to be my November book haul. So November, I'm sure if you watched any of my videos in November, you all know that November was my birthday. So expect a fair few books on here. I did get some gifts. I also just treated myself to some, to be honest. But yes, this is actually the biggest amount of books that I've hauled on this channel so far. So I'm not gonna linger around too long talking first, because I'm sure you all know what a book haul is. I'm just going to talk you through the books that I got. I'm going to do these in order that I received them, and I'll tell you how I got them, and some of them I've already read, so I can give you quick thoughts, all of that jazz. But yeah, let's just dive in to what books I acquired during the month of November. It is definitely a good job that I have all these on a spreadsheet though, because otherwise I would have absolutely no idea what I actually got, because it would be very easy to lose track of these. So the first book that I received during the month of November is actually one that I should have received, I think, in September. I ordered this from Waterstone. At the time it said it would be dispatched within 10 days. Lo and behold, it's about 3 weeks later it had not been sent, so I emailed them and they said, oh sorry, there's been a delay, but we're expecting it next week. Still just never got sent, so I just kind of kept it and was like, I'm gonna wait and see what happens. They don't charge you until they send it anyway. And finally this got dispatched right at the beginning of November, and that is The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. So I bought this one because I'd seen a few people talking about it online. I know Steph from Steph Loves really adored this book, and I was just intrigued by it. And also it did have a really pretty under the cover art design. A little bit disappointed because I think that was only for the first print, and because this one got delayed because I'm guessing it was out of print at the time, I ended up with this, which is still pretty but not quite as pretty as like the floral everywhere design that it was on the first printing. But I'm going to quickly read you the synopsis because I do not really know what this one is about, and yet I ordered it. Do we expect anything more from me, really? So it says, Clara Densmore is an Everwitch. For centuries, witches have maintained the climate, their power peaking in the season of their birth. But their control is faltering as the atmosphere becomes more erratic. All hope lies with Clara, whose rare magic is tied to every season. So basically, yes, it is about witches who control the weather, and it is about sort of the climate, I believe. It sounds quite intriguing. Like I said, I've heard some good things about this, so I'm hoping that I like it as well. I'm just a little bit disappointed that I didn't get it when I ordered it, because I think it would have been great for sort of like that autumnal, like October time read, and now I'm not entirely sure when I'll pick it up, but I'm sure I will eventually. Next, though, we have one that I've got for the perfect time of year, and that is Midnight in Everwood by M.A. Cusnier. So this is a Nutcracker retelling, so it is perfect for the wintry season, and I do actually plan on reading this one at some point this month. So this one says, Nottingham 1906. Marietta Stella longs to be a ballerina, but as Christmas draws nearer, her dancing days are numbered. She must marry and take up her place in society in the new year. But when a mysterious toy maker, Dr. Drosselmeyer, purchases a neighbouring townhouse, it heralds the arrival of magic and wonder in Marietta's life. After Drosselmeyer constructs an elaborate theatrical set for her final ballet performance on Christmas Eve, Marietta discovers it carries a magic all of its own, a magic darker than anyone can imagine. It's as the clock chimes midnight, Marietta finds herself transported from her family's ballroom to a frozen sugar palace, silent with secrets, in a forest of snow-topped fir trees. She must find a way to return home before she's trapped in Everwood's enchanting grip forever. So yes, it is a Nutcracker retelling. I think this sounds fantastic. I really enjoyed the Nutcracker as a kid. There was an animated version that I used to watch a lot, and I've hunted for the actual version that it was for years and can't figure out which one it actually was. But I really loved the story, so I'm very excited to read this one. I also did manage to get the Waterstones exclusive, so it does have the really pretty sprayed edges. I don't know if it has anything under the dust jacket. No, it doesn't, but it does have the nice end papers. So very excited to have this one. I know Gav from How to Train Your Gavin read this one the beginning of the year. I think he had an arc for it, and he really loved this one. It's one of his favourite books that he's read in the year altogether. So I always think when a favourite book of yours is a book you read at the beginning of the year, you know it's good because it stayed with you. So I'm very excited to read this one, and you keep an eye out for some readathon TBRs that may be coming next week, and you will see when I will be reading this one. Next up, we have a sequel to a book that I read I can never remember if it was earlier on this year or late last year, but I did really, really love the first one. So I picked up the second one. It is A Psalm of Storms and Silence by Roseanne A. Brown. So I don't need to read the synopsis for this one. This is about two characters. So we have Malik, and I can never remember the girl character's name. So we have Malik and Karina. So Karina is the princess, and she is holding this competition where the winner gets her hand in marriage. But what is unknown to everyone else is that actually she needs to kill a king in order to save her mother. So what better way to do that than to marry someone, ascend to the throne, and then she can save her mother. Whereas Malik has been tasked with killing the princess in order to save his sister. So essentially they are both kind of trying to gain each other's trust with very, very different goals in mind, or just kind of the opposite goal really. They both just want to murder each other. But inevitably a relationship actually does form. I really, really enjoyed this first book. So I'm very excited to see where this one goes. I keep saying that I need to check if this is a duology or a trilogy or something more, but as far as I know it is a duology, and this is the last part, so I'm very excited to see where this one goes. And if you watch my TBR, you will know that I am planning on reading this one this month. I'm pre-filming this a couple of days before it goes up, but this should be one of the first ones that I pick up in December, so I could potentially be already reading it right now. So all of the ones that I talked about before were generally like pre-orders or just an order from Waterstones that was taking a while to arrive. The next few are Illuminae special editions that all happen to arrive on the same day actually. So the first one being Extraordinary by V. Schwab. So this is a graphic novel. It's a very, very short graphic novel that is set in the same world as the Villain series, which is Vicious and Vengeful so far. There should be one more in that series coming, but we just don't know when yet. I believe the plan is for it to be called Victorious. Extraordinary is set in between Vicious and Vengeful, so there is a gap between those, and this kind of bridges that a little bit. So in the Villain's world, basically when you have a near-death experience, you gain some type of special ability, kind of like a superhero does. It's got a little bit of like X-Men vibes to it. The main character in this one has a near-death experience, and since then whenever she sees someone's reflection, she can see the way that they are going to die. But whenever she looks at her own reflection, all she sees is this one particular man who is one of the main characters from the Villain series, and it's basically about finding out how her life is going to cross over with his, and that leads on then to what was the second book in the Villain series. I've already read this one. I very much enjoyed it. It is one of my favourite series anyway, so I liked having this little bit of an extra glimpse into that world. But I also just really love the graphic novel in general. I like the art style. It's very comic book style, which is great because, like I said, it does remind me of X-Men as well, and I always love V. Schwab's writing, so I'm very glad that I have this one. I'm glad that there are many, many different covers of this, but I do really love the Illuminae one, which is why I got this edition. So this is the first Illuminae one that came this month. There will be more. Speaking of, the next ones that I got was actually two books together, and that is the TJ Klune set. So we have got House in the Cerulean Sea and Under the Whispering Door. I have now read both of these. I had two copies of this. I'd read this one earlier this year, but I needed this one because it is beautiful, because look at those edges. And then we also have got end papers, and I was not expecting this bit to look so pretty, but look at the underneath the dust jacket. Like, look at the actual naked hardcover. It's so cute. So House in the Cerulean Sea tells the story of a character called Linus, who essentially is like a social worker in this world, but he deals with children with magical abilities, and he is sent to go and inspect this orphanage where all of these children are deemed dangerous because of their powers. But when he gets there, he kind of realizes that maybe things are not as they seem, and it's all like a found family type story, and it's really beautiful, and I love it. I think you've probably heard many people talk about how good that book is before. The new TJ Klune one is Under the Whispering Door. So this one came out recently, which is why the special edition set was done. This one also has got some beautiful sprayed edges. It also has the end papers, and I think the naked hardcover for this one is my favourite because we've got that, and then on the back we've got Chiron's Crossing Tea and Treats, which if you've read the book you will know what that is in reference to, and I really adored this book. It's about a character called Wallace who passes away, and he didn't really have that many great relationships in his life. He'd split up from his wife, he didn't really have many close friends, and when he dies there's not really that many people who are too sad to see him go. And then he ends up at a way station kind of in between life and death, and it is there that he actually starts to make some connections, and it's just about him sort of discovering life afterlife really, and I really adored this book. If you want to see my full thoughts, watch my wrap up from yesterday. But yes, I'm very happy that I got the special edition of this because it really lived up to what I thought it was going to be, and probably more so. I then got the last in a series that I have been reading for a while but then recently reread so that I could carry on with it, but that is Auroras End by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. So this is a sci-fi YA series. It's basically about a character who is like #1 in his class at this Space Cadet Academy. He's supposed to be about to graduate. He's supposed to get the first choice of all the people to go on the crew with him, and then the night before his graduation he ends up going off on his own little mission, and he comes across this spaceship that is long thought to have disappeared and finds a girl who is kind of in like a cryo sleep, and basically that kind of derails him being able to get to his graduation, so he doesn't actually get to have his pick of his crew like he plans to. He ends up with kind of the dregs that nobody really wanted to be paired up with, and then things kind of unravel from there when they realise that there's a little bit more to this girl that he's discovered than they thought. And it's just like a really fun sort of sci-fi adventure. It does remind me of the TV show Firefly, which is great because I love Firefly so much. This is the last book in the series. So I had the first one when it first came out. I then never picked up the second one, not because I didn't want to read it, but just because I never got around to picking it up. Finally bought it this year and have read it, and now I have the third one. I haven't got around to reading this yet because the pre-order came a little bit later than I thought it would, and by the time I got it I was reading other things and didn't have time to fit this in November, but I am hoping to possibly read it in December. And yes, I'm very excited to see how this one wraps up because the second one really ended on a cliffhanger and I need to know what happens. So next up we actually are on to my birthday gifts now. So I've already spoke about these in a vlog where I sort of went through all the books that people bought me for my birthday, but I will mention who bought me these ones because some of them were gifts from you guys, which I very much appreciate. Thank you to anyone that sent me anything, anyone that wished me happy birthday on social media. Just thank you all. It was a lovely day and you guys helped with that. Thank you. So the first book that I have on here is Illuminae, which is also by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is a sci-fi trilogy of theirs that I think a lot of people will have already heard of. It's told through like mixed media, so a lot of it is sort of records and there are like graphics in here as well. There's quite a lot of different ways. There's pages where you have to like turn them upside down. I have read this one before. I enjoyed it, but I didn't really feel a need to carry on with the series, so I unhauled it at the time. But I have been feeling an urge to read the series recently, so I added it to my wish list, and lo and behold, somebody decided to gift it to me. So this one came from Rachel, and thank you very much for this. I'm very excited to pick this series back up. I've been loving Jay Kristoff recently, so I'm glad that I now am able to give this one a second try. Then I have two books that were gifted to me by the lovely Megan. So Megan sent me 10,000 Doors of January, which as soon as I opened this parcel, I knew it was from her because I know this is one of her favourite books. So this one, I don't really know what it's about. As a ward of the wealthy Mr. Locke, January Scala feels little different from the artefacts that decorate his sprawling mansion, carefully maintained, largely ignored, and utterly out of place. But when she finds a strange book, one that tells a tale of secret doors, of love, adventure, and danger, for the first time, January realises she can escape her story and sneak into someone else's. So, I read, this is by Alex E. Harrow, by the way, I haven't said the name of the author. Alex E. Harrow also wrote The Once and Future Witches that I read late last year when it first came out, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it as much as I hoped I would. This one I actually think I might like more. The story intrigues me very much so. I mean, the story did intrigue me for Once and Future Witches, but there was just some things that I didn't quite love about sort of how the historical and the magical parts were brought together. I just feel like there could have been a little bit more done with that. But anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about why I'm excited for this one. So yeah, this one, I did really enjoy the writing style, so I think I will love this one, and the story sounds really intriguing. So I'm really glad to have this one. Thank you, Megan. And then she also bought me Madship as well because she said that she knows I've been reading Robin Hobb and she knew that I would want to carry on with this month. Lo and behold, this is already on my TBR. This one is the second book in the Live Ship Traders. It is the fifth book in the Realm of the Eldlings. It's about ships that come to life, and I'm not going to tell you much else because you probably already know enough about Robin Hobb by now, and also second book in a series, technically fifth book in a series. I'm not going into too much more of details of that one right now. Then another gift, we had The Sad Ghost Club. This was from the lovely Steph from Steph Loves. So this one I believe is a story about anxiety and feeling a bit left out, but it's told through the eyes of a sad ghost. So it said on the back that this is not a sad story, though it begins with a struggle and anxious swirling thoughts, but sometimes even the worst of days can surprise you. Join the Sad Ghost Club and find your kindred spirits. You are not alone. Sounds really adorable. I may have already read this by the time this video goes out, because if I finish the book I'm reading at the minute before the end of the month, I'll probably try and squeeze this one in, but I'm very excited. So thank you to Steph for this one. And then last but not least of the gifts, we have got Beetry by Emily Henry. So this one came from Holly, and she said that she had read this one and absolutely loved it, and she hopes I do too. But she did say, I believe, to prepare for tears. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, but bring the tissues. So I'm glad I have this one now, actually, because I have one of Emily Henry's other books, but I wanted to read this one first just because it came out first, even though they're not connected. So this one is, I believe, about two authors. Yeah, it says January is a hopeless romantic who narrates her life like she's the lead in blockbuster movies. Gus is a serious literary type who thinks true love is a fairy tale. But January and Gus have more in common than you'd think. They're both broke, they have crippling writer's block, and they need to write bestsellers before the summer ends. The result, a bet to swap genres and see who gets published first. The risk in telling each other's stories, their world might be changed entirely. So yeah, basically they write two different types of books and they decide to kind of swap over the summer and see how it goes. I'm very excited about this. I like the idea of a book about books, about writing books. So yes, I will read this one at some point. It might be more of a summer read, but I will get to it and I'm very excited. So thank you to Holly for this one. Next up, we have one that I ordered myself. So this one is Violin Ends by Chloe Gong. This is the sequel to These Violent Delights, which is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but it's set in 1920s Shanghai and it's about sort of two warring gangs in there. I'm actually currently, as of filming this, reading These Violent Delights. I'm really enjoying it so far. So I'm glad that I have the sequel to carry on with. I got the signed copy with the orange sprayed edges from Waterstones. And yeah, I pre-ordered this on a whim because I thought I would really like the first one. And so far that is holding true. So fingers crossed I do really love it by the end of it. Then we have got Best Wishes, Warmest Regards, which is a book all about the making of Schitt's Creek, which is one of my favourite TV shows. This was actually written by Dan and Eugene Levy, who created the show. And I got a version which is signed by Dan Levy, which I'm very happy about because I love him. So yes, I am excited to have this one. It goes through each episode and sort of the making of each season, but then it's also a lot about the fan culture as well around it. So there's like fan art and things like that in there. There's a whole thing about Moira's wigs and David's jumpers, and I'm just really excited to read through this one. So yeah, a little bit different from the rest of the books on this haul, but I'm still very, very excited to have it. Then on to some bookish subscription boxes. So I got two books in the Afterlight box from Illuminae, which is their adult romance box. So I got Spoiler Alert and All the Fields by Olivia Jade. These are hardcover versions because normally they are only out in paperback. And they also do have little notes from the author, and they are digitally signed, but they do have little extra notes from her as well. And then the All the Fields one has a bound-in author letter. And basically, spoiler alert, says that Marcus has a secret. While he may be the star of the biggest show on TV, he's also a prolific fanfiction writer. Through his stories, Marcus releases his frustrations with the show, but if anyone finds out about his online persona, he's fired immediately. April has secrets of her own. A hardcore fan of Marcus's show, she's hidden her fanfic and cosplay hobby from her real life, but not anymore. When she dares to post her latest costume creation on Twitter, her plus-size take goes viral, and when Marcus asks her out to spite the critics, truth officially becomes stranger than fanfiction. On their date, Marcus quickly realises that he wants much more from April than a one-time publicity stunt. And with so many secrets hiding between them, can they ever stop hiding, or will a match made in fandom never make it in real life? Very excited about that one. It's all about fanfiction. I just dropped a load of books. Then we have All the Fields, which is more about Hollywood, I believe. So it says Alexander Woodrow has it all: charm, wealth, a starring role on the biggest show on TV. But the showrunners have wrecked his character, he's hounded by old demons, and his future remains uncertain. When all that reckless emotion explodes into a bar fight, the tabloids and public agree his star is falling. Enter Lauren, the former ER therapist hired to keep him in line. Compared to her previous work, watching over a handsome but impulsive actor shouldn't be especially difficult. But the more time she spends with Alex, the harder it is to hold on to her professionalism and her heart. When another scandal lands him in major hot water and costs Lauren her job, Alex becomes determined to keep his impossibly stubborn and extremely endearing minder in his life in any way he can. And on a road trip up the Californian coast together, he intends to show her exactly what a falling star will do to catch the woman he loves. So yeah, basically two romances that are set within sort of like fandom culture and things like that, and I'm very excited about that because they sound right up my street. Okay, we are getting towards the end. Does feel like this is a very large book haul. But the next one I have is Jade Fire Gold by June CL Tan. This one came in the latest Violin box, and it's actually the first Violin box I've had for a while because I wasn't subscribed for a few years, but I am now. So we got this beautiful version. Again, I've already done a full sort of unboxing in one of my recent hauls, but I will show you this one. It is a different colour than the regular colouring for this book. I believe it's normally orange and yellow, and then on the edges it has this beautiful sword design as well, which matches the front. This was actually all wavy when I first got it because it got cold in transit, but it seems to have settled down now. We have also got a reversed dust jacket art on there as well, which is also stunning, and then a undercover naked hardback embossing. So FairyLou, as per usual, going all out with the covers. That is one of the reasons why I resubscribed. And on the synopsis it says, an empire on the brink of war. Arn is no one with no past and no family. Alton is the lost heir, his future stolen away as a child. When they meet, Alton sees in Arn a path to reclaiming the throne. Arn sees a way to finally unlock her past and understand her lethal magical abilities, but they may have to pay a far deadlier price than Eva could have imagined. So I'm very excited about this one. It's described as Girls of Paper and Fire meets The Song of Wraith and Ruin, and I really enjoyed both of those series, so I'm very excited to read this one at some point soon. I'm not entirely sure when. Then we have got one that I have already read. I read this one, actually finished it yesterday, and that is Olympus Volume 1 by Rachel Smythe. So this is a webcomic. It's on Webtoons, I believe, and this is a bind up of the first 25 episodes of it. It is a Hades and Persephone retelling, so it's all about sort of Greek gods and things like that. The art style in this is absolutely gorgeous, and yeah, I really enjoyed this. I again had full thoughts in my last video, my wrap up, but I did really enjoy this. I've already pre-ordered the second volume, and I am now on the hype train for this because I know it's a series that plenty of people love from its time online and now from the bind up editions, and yes, very excited to carry on with the series at some point. And then last but not least, I will say that this one came in the latest Illuma crate, so if you haven't got your box yet, if you're international and you haven't got it and you do not want to be spoiled, maybe look away for a couple of minutes. It is the last book I'm going to haul, and that is Little Thieves by Margaret Owen. So this is the cover. I believe this is the regular UK cover, but then it does have some extra bits. I don't know if the regular one is hardback or if it's normally paperback, but this is the cover, and then we have got the sprayed edges, which is this gorgeous design on there. It came with a signed book plate, but then the prettiest part of this book by far is definitely the naked hardcover. So this is the front, we've got the side and the back cover as well. So I really love this edition of it, and this is a book that I've kind of had my eye on and knew that it was probably coming in this box. That's why I haven't bought it yet, but I'm going to read you the synopsis. Once upon a time there was a horrible girl. Vanja Schmidt knows that no gift is freely given, not even a mother's love. The adopted goddaughter of death and fortune, Vanja has long made her own way in the world as useful servant of Princess Giselle, until a year ago when her otherworldly mothers demanded payment for their care, and Vanja decided to steal her future back by stealing Giselle's life. With the help of an enchanted string of pearls, Vanja transformed into her former mistress and took her place, leaving the real Giselle a penniless nobody. Now Vanja leads a lonely but lucrative double life as a princess and a jewel thief, charming the nobility while emptying their coffers to fund her great escape. Until one heist away from freedom, Vanja crosses the wrong god and is cursed to turn into jewels stone by stone. With a feral guardian half-god, Giselle's sinister fiancé, and an over-eager junior detective on her tail, Vanja has just 2 weeks to pull off her biggest grift yet, or she risks losing more than her freedom. She could lose her life. It says it's a retelling of The Goose Girl, which I have never read, but I am very excited to read this one. It sounds great. It's that sort of fairy tale retelling with a dark twist by the sounds of it, and I'm very excited for this one. So happy to have this. And that is all of them. So in total that was, let me check my spreadsheet because that definitely helps keep track of this. So that was 19 books in total. I do feel like I have like 2 days left of the month. I'm not planning on going book shopping, but I'm very tempted to just go and buy one more just because that's 19. I feel like it should be 20, but we're not going to do that. What I'm going to do instead is show you just how many books I've bought in context. So normally I would try and stand in shot with all of these, but I literally can't even lift them up. So, and I've knocked the table you guys are on to film that, so let's just move you around. And I think what I'm going to do is film a clip showing you just how many books are in this stack next to me at the minute. So this is the size of the sack of books that I am physically unable to pick up right now. Right, so that is everything that I acquired during the month of November. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below, and I will see you guys tomorrow with the next video of BOOKMAS. Bye!